I'm 𝗓𝗄𝗏𝗄𝗏, a recognized thought leader in the Microsoft Dynamics community and a Microsoft MVP for business application. Welcome to the Get Your New View podcast. Keep listening to learn how we work with frustrated Business Central and Nav users who struggle to use their system and find the answers that they need. We teach them to truly understand how the system can support their business processes to make immediate and lasting improvements. As a result, they get more done in less time, make better business decisions, and even love their system. This season, we are sharing information about new Business Central functionality released by Microsoft in the 2025 Wave 1 release.
So, supply chain management improvements, there are so many in this wave. It was kind of crazy to go through this and see what all was available. I picked out some, but there's other ones that are probably just as important. I tried to target some ones I know I have some customers that these would be super helpful for. Achieve greater accuracy in manufacturing costing. That's a pretty broad topic, and it felt very marketing to me. But what that boils down to is you can include now non-inventory costs in finished good. For some people that have things that they're trying to track and tie to a production order, that's non-inventory. It will allow you to turn that on in manufacturing, and it's going to include that non-inventory cost in the finished good. We can also turn on, use standard cost from stock keeping unit for production output. So there's these two things now, two new setups under manufacturing that we can take advantage of. We have to turn this on in setup. We're going to go into 𝗬𝗏𝗂𝗿 and look at this and kind of go through a little bit of this. You turn it on in setup. What that's going to allow us to do is you'll see the cost of non-inventory items included in the cost of the produced items as an additional value entry. So you'll see here, we can see the additional value entries where it's got the direct cost of the non-inventory. We can get the variance, all of those types of things. The other part is you can also see after you post it, you can see the value entries, and then you can drill through to the general ledger entries as well. So you can see there it's tagged with the non-inventory. The other part of this is it will add a new column on the bottom, cost shares, so you can see it. So here you can see over to the right, it's added the rolled up material non-inventory cost. So I can see that there as part of the cost share. I mean, I don't know, this is kind of exciting, and it's really a nice function to add. The other part, so load the SKU cost for manufacturing. Again, we have to turn this on in manufacturing setup. And once we turn that on, when you do the calculate production standard cost from a stock keeping unit, it's gonna populate all of these additional fields. You can see there's a whole list of it. So single level material costs, I'm not gonna read them all, but you can kind of look through that list. It's a pretty extensive modification and nice feature. This one is huge. I didn't think it really needed a screenshot. I just love that we can now allow multiple people to post inventory at the same time. It is huge. There's a couple of caveats to this, right? It's only about inventory posting, and it's going to dynamically assign entry numbers to avoid locking item ledger tables so that multiple users or sessions can post inventory at the same time. There is a limitation, though, on the GL posting. That's still going to be sequential. So it's kind of good in a sense that's going to allow that, like if two people are posting an item journal, it's going to hit the item ledgers. But as far as like the second piece of that, posting a GL, that's still going to go sequentially. I'm not sure how that's all going to work, but this is something that you turn on and off in feature management. And I would definitely say do this in Sandbox first. It's kind of hard to replicate, though, unless you have a bunch of people that can actually go in and post things at the same time so you can kind of see it. I would say definitely if you have a lot of transactions happening, you want to try and simulate that. I know it's hard. I would say that's my one kind of worry about this when I see things like this. The other thing is canceling production orders that have consumption. This is huge. This is so time consuming if you have to try and reverse some things, and it can just be a real pain trying to get things back into balance and back in sync. So this is going to make it actually easier to revert consumption and output transactions. And I think this is like one of those critical things, right, for keeping inventory like your inventory, your costs, and your financial records accurate. I can't tell you how many people, like when they first start doing production orders, there's always going to be some scenario where somebody posted something they didn't want to post for output or consumption, and now it's out of balance, and how do I get it back? And they might do a couple of things to reverse it, and it only makes it worse. And so I think this functionality is going to make it a little cleaner and easier for them to figure out what they need to do to go in and make those reversing transactions so that it balances things back out. This happens from the release. You can do it from the release production order, where you can open the item ledger entries and a capacity ledger entries, and then you can use the reverse production transaction. And then that's going to go out and create the journal and automatically post it in the background. If you're in the item ledger entries and you're highlighting the line that's consumption, that's a type of consumption, it will create the item journal for that type of consumption. It's going to copy all the values from the original transaction, and then it's going to use the opposite sign of whatever was posted in the first place. So if it's positive, it's going to make it a negative, or vice versa. And then for output or capacity, for those types, it's going to create item journal, type of output, and then it's going to copy the values again from the original transaction, and then it's going to use the opposite sign to the original entries. The big part is it is going to post automatically, so then you can go see it when you look at the item ledgers or look at the capacity. So then there is a little bit of a caveat to this. This is only production orders, right? It's not assembly orders. Just kind of a caveat there. Edit in Excel on output, consumption, and item journals. This one's huge. Just being able to, especially with output and consumption, and if you're doing large consumption journals, that can make it super helpful. Item journals as well. That's always fun. But really, the output and consumption to me are very exciting. Next one, enable overpicking for production orders. I don't know how many people ask me how we do this, where production order might call for half a pallet of something, and I really just want to bring a full pallet, and I'll put it away when I'm done because I don't want to break the pallet. I'm really excited about this. So you turn it on the item card. So it's item by item setting. And then when you create the pick, you can change your quantity. You can up your quantity on the pick. So you can see here this line for this item, the SKU-based-1103. We changed the quantity to 50 from, it's telling us to handle 28. We're going to handle 50. Let's do a little bit of a live demo. These are always exciting and fun. You never know what's going to happen. So I have my Business Central here. I'm going to go into Manufacturing Setup. And when I go into Manufacturing Setup here, you can see here, these are the two toggle switches we talked about. So the include non-inventory items to produced items, just turning that on there. And then the load SKU cost on manufacturing, we can turn that on as well. The other thing just to note too, I think this was under one of the other ones, you can default a general business posting group if you wanted to for production orders. So I think that's a new feature as well. And then one of the other things I wanted us to look at is if we go into items, and let's just take a look at the BOM cost shares. So I'm going to go into one of my finished good items. And here, when I come into here, I'm going to go to, this is always fun to remember where this is. And so it's under related, bill of materials, other, and cost shares. And then as soon as that opens, so here we can see the different costs that we have available with this. And where's my non-inventory? Here's my non-inventory right now. So this one didn't have any non-inventory material, but if it did, it would be right here, and you would see that there. So it's really nice. I'm super excited about that. The other one that is huge, we didn't talk about it yet, is that you can now go into a finished production order. So I can go into my production order here, and I can reopen a finished production order. I know I have some people that, again, when they first start using production orders, when something gets finished versus when it doesn't, can be a little tricky to get that process down at first. And sometimes somebody's going to always close a production or finish production order they shouldn't have finished. and this would allow you to reopen it. So it was reopened and moved back to my released production orders. And then it will ask you, which I really like that they've started adding this, like, do you want to go right to it? Which I think is a really nice feature. So I'm going to say yes. It should take me right to my released. Now, this production order that went back to released. With the released production order, I don't know if I had any entries against this, but, well, I should. It was finished. But it is a test environment, so you never know what's going to happen. If we go in here and go into related, orders, entries, and item ledger entries, we'll see if we have anything we can reverse, and we do. So here I have consumption. I've consumed some nails against this, 75. So one of the things that I can go in here and do is actually reverse my consumption of this line. So I can come in here, I can do reverse. This is, just tell me what it's going to do. It's going to reverse the entries, and the correct entries will be posted. It's going to look at that original entry and just do the reverse. And then it's going to tell me it posted successfully. If we go into that item number, and let's just look at the item ledger entries. There we go. So if I go into nails, and I go into history, and I go into my entries, and I look at my ledger entries, I can see here, I think my work date is 6/13, but so I can see the reverse of the 75. And then let's just take a look at the edit in Excel, because again, this one is pretty exciting. So I have a consumption journal in here that is it's got a fair amount of items in my consumption journal right now. So what I can do is just go ahead and edit in Excel. And I already did this because I needed to make sure I had the right login for this environment. So, but I just went here, went to editing Excel, we downloaded the file, I opened the file. So here you could see this is my file. And you can see, I'm just going to look at this top line in the journal. Let's see what we have here. So for this item number, I've got quantity. Got a quantity line somewhere here. There it is. So I've got a quantity of 3, and I'm just going to change that, let's say, to 5. And then I need to publish. So what I would do is I would publish. And then it would go back in here and update my quantity. But it's always fun. So let me just export it one more time, and we'll just do that. That'll be easier. And then when I open my consumption journal, it is fun. We'll just chalk that up to the fun of live demos. I did it once. It does work. So feel free to try that out if you're in your sandbox environment, but it is going to be huge. I know a lot of people who would use this quite a bit, and it would be super helpful to them. The other thing I wanted to take a look at is the overpick. So for example, in here, I have raw material items that I may want to overpick. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up one of those. So here, for this item, under replenishment, this is where you would turn on the allow warehouse overpick. And then when we create a pick for this, I could pick more. So like if I have a pallet of lemons, I don't really want to figure out what's 3/4 of a pallet of lemons. I just want to bring the whole pallet, do production on that. And then when I'm done with production, put away whatever's left over. I know a ton of people that are going to love that functionality. A couple of other things to note is that you can now, under release production orders, you can now select multiple production orders and change their status. So like I can select, these 3, and then I can change status on all 3 at the same time. And then, yep. So I might have some output missing and type and things like that. Normally you would know whether you've output everything. I just kind of randomly picked, and this is a training environment, so you never know what's going to happen with it. That's really nice to not have to be able to go into each production order and have to close individually. You can now do it from here. The other thing that you can do too is, and I like where they're going with this, is you can select multiple production orders here under finished, and then you could print like any of the reports. So now I could print this is the production order and routing. I could print this. So I'm just going to preview. And so you can see I've got my different production order components and routing lines. And then I think that's it, what we wanted to show. And just to kind of finish up and wrap it up, there's a couple of things I like where they're going with this too. They're adding more columns to various pages. I have a feeling that they're pulling this from telemetry to kind of see what people are adding to pages, or what fields people are using. So this is a complete list of the different fields. Some of them they've made visible by default, and some of them they've made them where you can add them when you personalize. This is quite a big list of different things, and especially on the production order pages as well. There's quite a bit, and it goes with some of the new functionality that they've added. And then other things to watch. So again, change order status in bulk, reschedule production orders within a safety lead time. We didn't talk about that. Use Streamline's product design tools in manufacturing. That's kind of around like different versions and being able to compare. Reopen finished production orders. We talked about blocked items or variants from production output. So that's a new one. Create demo data. There's a couple of changes for subscription billing as well. I didn't include those, but go check those out on the release planner. This was kind of nice that they actually are going to let you create demo data so you can actually run through and see how the subscription billing works. Print the production order components, what we talked about, like selecting multiple production orders and printing reports for those. And then this was kind of just buried in there, but edit in Excel on the standard cost worksheet. So if anybody does standard cost, I have a feeling that one might be very helpful as well. And that's all I had. Any questions? I kind of sped through that pretty good.
This is 𝗬𝗂𝗿. Hi, Carrie. Where you had the overpicking for production orders, would you apply that same pattern? Let's say because the client goes to their warehouse bin and they see something is damaged and they have to overpick. They're eventually going to move something to a quality control because something they can't use in production. But could you use that overpicking for that type of scenario?
If they're picking for production?
Yeah.
I would tend to want them to deal, like just process in a warehouse, I'd want them to deal with the damaged inventory separately, right?
Okay.
Like call somebody else to come in and move that damaged inventory. And then the picker is not worrying about that. He's just picking everything that's not damaged.
Sure.
So that's where, yeah. So from a process perspective, I kind of go with that. Could you do it the way you described? Absolutely. But I don't know. I'm very big on like, pickers are picking and, quality people kind of do what they need to do to keep the inventory, in balance.
I agree, but I have a feeling if I show this to one client in particular,
Yeah.
they're going to go, hey!
I mean, you could. There's nothing that's going to stop them.
I'm Carrie Peters. Thank you for tuning in to the Get Your New View podcast. For more episodes like this on YouTube, click the subscribe button and ring the bell to ensure you get notified whenever new content comes out. If you're listening to the audio podcast, please share an honest review on Apple Podcasts. If you're ready to rethink today for tomorrow, contact us to speak with our expert team. You won't find the level of no-nonsense, real-world experience we offer anywhere else, and we're here to put that experience to work for you.